All markets currently are getting annihilated, so what I'm going to do is put you a little bit at ease and give you some predictions or some things that we can keep an eye on, areas of interest to possibly trade from. Now, we have to understand that the markets are extremely volatile at the moment. As we can see, the Japanese Nikkei has been absolutely smashed, which they presumed that they were doing pretty well, as we haven't broken this $39,000 line for months, or if not years, not since 1989. So this has been the longest recovery that Japan has had, and we only just crossed it before we had a huge sell-off. Now, this is on the weekly chart, but if we go down to the daily, we can just see we are just getting smashed here. 2 massive losing days, and I predict that this will continue to crash. So where do I see this coming from here? We're going to need some kind of relief rally, but in a spooked market like this, it is very unlikely to predict any kind of circumstance that you can within charts, just because people are irrational at the moment. People are getting emotional and they're selling their things, and they're also buying at the same time. A lot of people are trying to catch bottoms and tops. It's usually better just to sit on your hand, mark out areas of interest, and then look for either shorts or longs from that area. So we do have an area here that we have tapped here, and we are getting a response from it. For me personally, this one isn't on the cards for me. Just with what's going on, we are looking for a policy change, but usually in regards to that, I like to see more of a pullback. I don't like to try and catch a falling knife or jump on a moving train. I like for it to pull back, give me a very slow and steady entry, and then continue on price. But let's jump into a few other pairs that we've been watching over the last couple of weeks and see what we can make of them. So this is the one trade that we took from last week that I forecast. We had our zone down here. We come down into this area, which was really nice, and then we got these beautiful deceleration here, the 2 candles. Now, if we jump down to the 4 hour, this is mainly based on a swing strategy. Now, I looked for a scale in, but we didn't actually get the pullback that I needed and required to scale in, and it gave the entry just down here, this nice reversal pattern. And I just entered there, targeting a 4.5 to 1, which was really nice. What do I think is next going to happen with this pair? I haven't got really any new zones that I'm targeting at the moment. I'm just seeing how price plays out. As we can see, I did have this slight pullback and probably a continuation down. Now, the most likely thing is to see more structure being built, and then perhaps we get a break to the upside or something of that nature. But at the moment, I don't really have anything much lower except for down here, which I haven't analyzed that, as there doesn't look like anything is too fresh. This area here has been taken out. So nothing on watch for this pair, but that was a nice 4.5 to 1 that I forecast earlier. Moving on to Euro Aussie, we can see here that what I have written here and that I've put is a sideways correction before a move up. Now, as I said, markets are extremely volatile right now. We have our 2 zones here. We're starting to react a little bit here. So I do believe this should be a large pin bar. I don't think that we will continue through to the highs. Markets are just being irrational at this point in time. There's a lot of fear in the market. So it's best to sit on your hands and just be patient with a lot of your trades that you can be executing. But we did say that price would probably consolidate for a little bit before slowly moving up, which we got these nice movements down, up, and then I thought we'd get that reversal there, but we didn't. So at the moment, this is not on my watch list. We have completely smashed through this area of interest, so there's nothing really to watch here. And this one here has also broken my rules. It's way too high. It's completely smashed through that, and it's no longer on my watch list as well. Same thing for CAD yen. We had this nice descending. It was starting to slow down. It looked like we were going to get a nice reversal, and then the news come out, and we have just obliterated it and just completely fallen. I mean, if we have a look at that, that's nearly a 13% drop, 14% drop, and nearly 16 cents. That has been lost, or 16 yen that has been lost in just a couple of days, which is a huge move, which is not looking good for CAD yen at the moment. It's just been obliterated. So nothing on watch for this pair either. It's going to be probably a slower week just with all of this the turmoil that's going on, the algorithms will just be running, which are mainly just breakout systems, trying to catch these larger moves that are just erratic. So just being patient with manual trading, waiting for correct entries. This one's actually still got my eye. So as we predicted here, we were about here, and I just said we'll probably get a much more nicer correction down to this trend line here, which we have. We got this nice rejection, so we hit down, spiked into it before rejecting. Now we're just kind of sitting here seeing what's going to happen, but this kind of corrective nature is showing that it's struggling to go down. We're having more luck with a more up move, as you can see, a more impulsive move on the ups, and struggling fighting on the way down. So at some point, I think that we should continue that rise back up into this 1.30 handle, which I've got an alert set for, and then we'll be looking for shorts from that level. So keeping that one on your charts and your area of interest. Pound yen. This one has been beautiful in regards to my algorithms. They have been running very, very well. Have been able to bag quite a fair bit of profit on these particular pairs. I should have probably held one from the top. I didn't want to be too greedy. I just let my systems do their thing. Now, we are getting a little bit too far out of that way to be able to retrace back into this area of interest. That was my original theory and thesis. We're getting a little bit too far from that, but never say never. It depends on this area of interest down here, which is the 179 to 180 roughly, and I'm going to see what price does when it enters this zone here. At the moment, as I said, these are some large candles. It's very sporadic. We could see some large wicks in either way, but also we can begin to see when you have such a large push in price, we may just even get a more of a range, as no one wants to get involved and get wicked in and out of these movements. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just get some kind of build up here, take out, and then start to take off finally back up to the top. But we're also waiting on some monetary policy coming out from Japan. How are they going to deal with these economic troubles at the moment? It's something will definitely need to be done because it's really not looking good for Japan at the moment. Moving on to the next pair. So just being patient on that one. Same thing with US dollar. I thought we'd get the pullback. We didn't quite get it, but we are sitting at this new level now, 142. So just being patient. What is price going to do? If it's not communicating to us that it looks like it might be reversing, some deceleration, some nice structure of price, a reversal pattern, then we just sit on our hands, okay? There's no point in trying to jump into such volatile markets because you won't win in the long run there. Unless you have a back-tested system that works in these kind of market environments, I wouldn't be risking capital trying to catch larger moves like this. Like this move has already been done, but with regards to what's going on in the environment, this can continue to go down. So while it's uncertain and there's no edge there with current market conditions, you just got to be patient, sit back and really wait for what the market has to offer. Moving on to Kiwi dollar, we're on the same thing here, but we are having nicer price action in regards to USD and Kiwi dollar. Now, I think things could change if we look at the S&P, which we'll have a look at the S&P 500 shortly. We could see some large market moves in regards to the dollar as the S&P starts to drop. Now, our pre-open on a lot of pairs, including Apple, Tesla, we're talking 10% down on a lot of those stocks, which make up the S&P 500. So you can only assume that we are going to gap down pretty heavily within the equities market, which is not a good sign. Now, is this the larger crash? We are having huge crashes in crypto also. It's all markets seem to be taking some kind of dive, and we are getting a lot of fear-based material showing up on all of your socials. Just to sit back and relax a little bit, okay? These things happen over and over again. There's no point in getting emotional about them. Just be patient, reassess, and then kind of enter the markets with a bit of a clearer mind. If you're currently emotional, just take a step back from the markets, turn off your socials, and don't read into it. Otherwise, you will end up buying something that you shouldn't in total speculation, but also off using nothing but your emotions. So with this one, I'm still very happy to execute this, but we still haven't tapped into our area here. So 0.8585 is what I'm looking for. We sent out this pin bar. I hope we fill this area and come down and give us a nice entry. I think this is just testing price down here, getting a few buys to jump in, maybe a false break of structure or something like that. But I'd much rather it to see it come down over the next week and then probably reverse by about Friday. So this one's definitely on the watch list for me. Just being patient though. And here we are, the S&P 500. So I've called this one perfectly. Just going off price action. Now, the fact that we did retest this, it's very common for if you get the S&P to break and retest, it will be a larger correction, okay? So after a large move down, usually a break of structure and a break of a trend line, you usually get a couple days of green, of recovery. Now, this is just a single breath before you have a large. You can back test this. I've seen it many, many times before. Now, the fact that we did come back up and retest this area before, absolutely gapping down and then possibly gapping down even further down to the 5,200 level, can cause concern. Now, it's not until that zone down here that we're going to be at negative 10%. Now, anything beyond that is getting into more scarier territory. Not so much scarier, it's turning into more opportunity territory, but we need to really keep our fingers on the pulse of the market at the moment, because there is a lot of opportunity at the forefront right now. If you have the capital to disperse it into these assets, you can really start to grow some wealth and money very, very rapidly. So just keeping an eye on that, and the S&P is definitely one of those assets that you want to get into. Now, a lot of people think, oh, what if the US dollar collapses? What if America collapses? That's completely fine, because the S&P 500 is based on products and services that will always be in use regardless of the USA's economy. You'll still use Google, you'll still use Apple and Netflix and all of those other things. So just focus on the products and services and don't worry about other people telling you that there's better things than the S&P 500. It's one of the safest investments that you can get. Still an investment, and this isn't financial advice. So let's jump into some of the cryptos now. We'll skip that one. Same thing, here we are. So we actually have it playing out now. The E-mini futures, we can see that this is gapping down quite substantially already, and the market hasn't even opened yet. Now, we know this is going to be a lot more volatile as soon as the market opens in about 3 hours. So that'll be interesting to analyze that one at that point. So just being patient with that one, but looking at the bond here is absolutely skyrocketing. Now, I was looking at an entry down at this lower level here, but it just didn't give me the kind of entry that I wait for in my typical style, so I never pulled the trigger, but that would have been a beautiful position on that one. It's another one that I was just analyzing. Now, what we can see on Bitcoin here is we did have a smaller flag. Now, this is an area that I'm kind of was looking at. Now, with this sell-off, I don't think it is deep enough just yet. Like, this is just 1 or 2 day freak out, which we had similar price action here and we didn't get the same kind of response. For some reason, people drastically freak out when it's just such a short and sharp, but when it's a slow bleed, people don't really care. I think that we'll get a small retracement back, remain to be seen, maybe up to the 60 handle before that continuation down. Will we hit this 28 level? It's remained to be seen. It would be good to see that, to be honest, a little bit of a last shakeout and a bit more of an opportunity that gives you at least 2 months, 3 months opportunity to start buying some of these altcoins that are dropped drastically in price. So just keeping an eye on that, but don't panic on these kind of scenarios. If you did buy in at the highs, you're better off dollar cost averaging and just bringing that dollar amount down a little bit. I know it's probably quite painful depending on how much you had in there, or if you're trading it with large leverage too. Never risk more than you're willing to lose, especially leverage trading is insane. Now, Ethereum is absolutely getting annihilated. I'm kind of not really looking at Ethereum until we do break this 1200 level, which I think is kind of unrealistic. But anything's possible at the current market with everything, not just crypto, but stocks. You know, all markets at the moment are acting. You know, they're not producing anything reliable that you can really act on. So if we do see a break below the 1200 here, I'll be happy to load up on that one. Anyway, I hope you got some value out of this and some ideas on what to watch. So we're just watching a few dollar pairs, really. Kiwi dollar, US dollar, Swiss is another great pair. But just be patient with these ones and don't stress too much about these massive market swings. They will pass, and prices always generally return back up as long as they have a good product or service backing them. So I hope you got some value out of this. Manage your risk and happy trading.